Hi, hello everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today in this special Founders Day edition of our 49er Industry Chats. While folks are filtering in, I just have a couple of housekeeping items. I want to run through them pretty quickly though, because we have a huge panel today of amazing founders that I definitely want you to get to know. So just to start us off, my name is Jenna Quinn, and it's my Assistant Director of Alumni and Affinity Engagement to welcome you all today. We just need to inform everyone that this is being recorded. So what that means for you is that this is going to be available for you to watch again on demand at our website, www.csulb.edu/alumni. This is, as you've noticed, a webinar format. So if you have any questions for any of our founders today, please go ahead and submit them in the Q&A chat or the Q&A box. The chat has been disabled, so use that Q&A box. You don't have to wait till the end. You can go ahead and submit it at any time, and we'll get that over to our wonderful moderator today, who is CSULB's own Dr. Wade Martin. In addition to being a professor of economics, Dr. Martin is the director of the Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Cal State University, Long Beach. Dr. Martin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jenna. This is great. We're excited to be here and to share these stories of these founders that have put a lot into their ventures, and they're all at different stages. So it'll be interesting stories and interesting perspectives. But prior to getting into the discussion, I wanted to briefly take a minute or two to introduce the Institute. The Institute is relatively new on campus. We're in our 6th year now, and we've been trying to make sure that we are an outlet and support for individuals, students, faculty, staff, people in the community that are there to start their own business, whether it's a small business or something that will scale. It doesn't matter. We're there to support your dreams. I'm going to share a quick little pitch deck just to let you know a little bit about us. And let's see here. There you go. And this is essentially what we do. We support your entrepreneurial journey. It's all about the founder and what we do. Our mission is programming and guidance leads to your success, however you define success. And our team has grown over the last few years. You can see we have folks that are there to help at every step along your journey. We do mentorship, workshops, collaborations. So there's we try to cover all the bases to help entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. This graphic highlights what we try to do, starting with our Apostle Incubator every Tuesday night on campus from 7 to 9 p.m. Then we have competitions like the Business Ideation Challenge. The John and Helen Apostle Foundation supports that. Then we have the Sunstone Innovation Challenge that is sponsored by Sunstone Management. Then the CSU-wide competition and CSU Demo Day. And we were part of the founders of the Long Beach Accelerator. So we try to make sure you're covered from when you generate an idea to when you really launch, if you're going to scale or just open your small business. Like I said, the Apostle Incubator is every Tuesday evening on campus in the Horn Center. And then we have a program coming up October 21st called Behind the Screens that Dr. Ebony Utley, the Associate Director, has put together. There will be a design sprint in creating, it's more of a social enterprise, how to create a social enterprise to address some challenges facing society today. And this one is how to help a friend that is challenged. So it's a great event, and it's all day on Saturday, October 21st. You can find more information on our website. CSU Demo Day. This is open to faculty, staff, students, alumni, anybody that has a startup that's looking for equity financing. We have already about 25 signed up to pitch on November 3rd, and we are hoping to have 40 to 50 startups on campus that day to pitch to investors. Plus, we'll have a number of venture capitalists, angel investors there to looking for deals. And we want to get into this discussion in the panel today. So you can reach out to us at our email, or you can look at our website. It's the university's website with /IIE. And we hope you will join us at our programs. All right. So let's see here, make sure I stop sharing and do all that. All right. So I want to welcome you all here and do a brief introduction of our panel. And we have 3 startups here. We have People App. It was founded by Ekene Abana. Ekene is an alum of Cal State Long Beach. And he will talk a little bit about People App and what it does in a moment. Then we have BookBound and 3 co-founders there. And that's Jaelyn Gutierrez, Nathen and Elias Babaalian-Morales. All right. And so, and then our third is Class Chat, Emmanuel Tafis. And Emmanuel is a current student, so he's been working on his startup since high school. So there's, like I said, a variety of backgrounds and paths that each of them have taken. So I'm going to start with a question, a very general question about what point did you decide that you wanted to pursue an entrepreneurial venture? When did you sit there and think that, I think I can bring this idea to market, that there are customers out there that want it? And since I mentioned Emmanuel and starting in high school, why don't you tell us about your venture, and also if this company is your current or your first company?
Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Emmanuel, founder of Class Chat. So I really started my venture my junior year of high school. And the kind of way I decided to pursue entrepreneurship and stuff was all really by accident. So I didn't start this thinking I was going to raise $1 gazillion, become Mark Zuckerberg, and live the $100 billion lifestyle. But I really started this just to help me and my friends talk to each other in our classes and kind of streamline that process, because it really sucked in my high school. And that's kind of what my company does now. We just really fix school communication and make it what it should be. And I really decided to take this seriously though after I graduated high school, because the app did really well. And then I left high school, and then I was like, I could bring this to colleges, I could bring this to other high schools, and there is a demand for it in the student body at least. So I decided to try to sell schools, and I got a lot of rejection because I didn't know what I was doing. But that's when I decided maybe I should consult somebody who knows more than me at my college, and talk to them about this idea. And that's where I met Wade and the Institute, and I started really pursuing this more seriously. So I would say it was my first year of college is when I decided to go down the entrepreneurial path. And this is my first ever company, my first real effort. So to answer that question as well.
All right, thank you, Emmanuel. Ekene, your interesting journey.
Um, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ekene Ibana, and I'm the founder of People Lab. I would say what got me into People Lab was when I went to a birthday dinner, and I realized we had to all pay separately, and they only accepted three forms of payments. So it was such a frustrating thing that we stood there for like 30 minutes, all trying to figure out how we're going to pay. And I just thought, like, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me. I was like, you know what, I'm going to put something, put it deep into something. So I started building People Lab. So what People Lab does is it's kind of like a platform where you can come together to do something together. Like, for example, come together to go to an event, come together to go pay for something. And it's kind of more focused towards groups. And right now, what we're doing, we've pivoted to focus on the Afrobeat market. So people that listen to Afrobeat music, they tend to move in groups. So we found that out over the time, and we started to focus on that market. And as far as like how I got into it, like I said before, I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. Whenever, especially like when I was in high school, whenever I was broke or I needed some money, I would always organize like a video game tournament because I knew I was so good at video games, and I always win my own video game tournament. So that's kind of like how I got into it.
All right, great. Okay, BookBound team, what drove you or motivated you to create, and tell us a little bit about what BookBound is?
Yeah. So me, Jaelyn, and Nathen, we all did the MBA program at Cal State Long Beach, and that's where we met. And the way that our friendship kind of started was through a book club. So I found out that Jaelyn really likes to read, and then I like to read, and then Nathen got involved too, because we just decided to do our own little, group chat and read books and talk about the books. And what ended up happening was, as you showed with your slides, the Apostle Incubation Challenge, we decided there has to be a better way for people to kind of get together and talk about books. So we pitched an idea about an app for books to kind of create chats and build a community around books. And so that was successful for us. We did pretty well on that. And we continued that for the Sunstone Innovation Challenge. And what we ended up doing was creating BookBound, and it started to become more and more official. And once we realized that there were two paths for the Sunstone Challenge, those that want to take it more seriously and actually try and launch their business, we decided to collectively go with that route. And so BookBound is pretty much going to be an app for readers to check out books and do book reviews, as well as create book club chats, as well as track the books that they're reading. And so we're planning on launching either at the end of this year or early next year, but that's kind of what got us started, just a friendship about reading books and then trying to see how other people can create that same type of experience that a book club would. But yeah, that's what I would say from my end.
All right, great. Yeah, when you look at starting a business and all the challenges that you face in launching a business, each of you have pursued a different path to get here. So as you were going down that path, what kind of things kept you motivated to stick with it, to say, yes, I've got something here? We can start with BookBound.
Sure, I'll take that one. For me, being an entrepreneur is not what I expected to be doing at this stage of my life. I have never been like, oh, I really want to start a business. I went into the MBA program under the assumption that I would find a corporate job after that and, work at a different company. So it's been a huge shift in my thinking of like, now I'm excited. Like I'm enjoying starting this business, and my co-founders and I have been having a great time. And I think for me, what's really encouraging is not only my co-founders, but the supportive people like from the Institute or from Cal State Long Beach, or people that I know personally who are rooting for us and wanting us to take these chances has been great. And of course, having a great team does really help you keep motivated and finish the tasks that you're setting out and what you need to do. But definitely the support of, great team, great people that you surround yourself with, and people who want to see you succeed has been awesome.
Great. Now, BookBound is a little different than Class Chat and People App because there are 3 co-founders there to support each other and to build that community. So, Emmanuel, from a solo founder's perspective, how do you keep motivated and moving down the path?
For me, it's kind of like a good thing. The way I do it is I talk to my customers. So whenever I talk to my customers, and I always, hear their feedback, both good and bad, it does a really good job of motivating me and also feeding me good ideas to kind of implement down the road. So this is like a double-edged sword, because if your product's not good and you talk to your customers, you're not going to be very motivated. You're going to be like, this is hard, But and I was at that point at one point, but I think being able to earn your customers not only validation but business is, for me, very motivating. And especially now, that's kind of helped me stay motivated and keep pushing through this, and just knowing that, like, the way I started this was, okay, if one student likes it, most likely I can get 10 to like it. And then if 10, I can get a teacher to like it. If a teacher likes it, I can get 10 more, get a principal, and just work my way up the ladder. That's kind of the way I've always seen this. So now I'm at a point where it's like, if I can get, one school district official to like it, or one college official, I can get 10 colleges. And that really motivates me to keep going, because I want to keep hitting those really arbitrary measures. But it's like a little game in my head. So I'm like, okay, if I could hit this, I can hit that. And I keep going. So that really helps.
All right. And Ekene, from a solo founder's perspective, that you're building a team now to support your effort, how do you keep motivated to keep going?
So I would say the number one thing that keeps me going is the feedback. And I would say, like, for example, after COVID, a lot of people found it really hard to connect with others. And, I started getting feedbacks, like personal texts, like from events that we did, is like, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's really helping me out. And those little feedbacks help you keep going. And even at a certain point, the feedback is not enough. Another thing is, like, I've gone, I've done it for so long. Like, I believe, like, there are times where it's so hard, and I'll just be like, you know what, I just want to give up. I'm tired. And I'll wake up and I'll sleep the next morning. I'll be like, no, the 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 solution to the problem I've been thinking about just came up to me. So sometimes it's just like the passion that's in there that will keep you going. And if you're just always thinking about the business and growing, it will definitely motivate you. And revenue too is a big motivator.
Yes. All right. And when you think about, you mentioned passion, and that is one thing that is critical. John Shin, the founder of Sunstone, in his new book, talks about the importance of passion and drive. You can have passion, but if you don't have drive, it's not going to work. If you have drive, but you don't have passion, it's not going to work. So these are things that are important to make sure you use in the correct motivating way to move forward. I mentioned in the introduction that each of these startups were at different stages. So if you look at the journey map that I showed in the slide deck, and so BookBound is at the point of developing their platform, their software, developing their MVP to start the market testing and beta testing. Ekene is at the point where he's had application and customers, has done his beta testing, getting feedback on developing and building up his traction. And Emmanuel has, if you saw at the end of that journey, there was the Long Beach Accelerator. Emmanuel has gone through the accelerator, and so is now doing a seed round raise to scale his business, and is in revenue with several universities and high school systems. So you can see they're each at different points. And so understanding sort of the challenges at each stage becomes important. And we will have a Q&A shortly. I noticed there are some questions in the chat, and we'll get to those shortly here. One thing that, since you're all at different stages, is the idea of pivoting. Whenever people talk about startups, talk about entrepreneurs, they always talk about, oh, here was our original vision, and then we pivoted and it's changed to something else. So can each of you talk about whether or not you've pivoted in your business? What motivated you to do that pivot? Was it strictly customer feedback? Was it something that you said, this just isn't going to grow as much as I think it will? So if we can start with the Ekene, if you can talk about your pivots.
So I would say the number one thing that made me pivot was my customers, because when you're building your customer or your user persona, you start to see that they like some things, or they're a certain type of people. So we kept pivoting to serve our customers, and at some point we became a mainstay in some of our customers' lives, where I say we track our weekly active users because we're like an event base. And one of the things is like there are a certain amount of customers that use this app almost every day. And we've tracked their activities and we realized, okay, how can we pivot to make them, we even ask them questions, how can we pivot to make this app even serve them better? And we just keep realizing, okay, these customers, they like this genre of music. And we started seeing like they're introducing their friends that like that genre of music. So we were like, why don't we pivot to this industry and see how we can serve so they can actually grow through word of mouth? And that was one of our most successful pivots. We've had different pivots, but that was the most successful because we focused on the customer, and we got way more feedback, way more traction just from that single pivot.
Great. BookBound, you're early in your journey. Have you looked at pivoting? Have things changed from your original vision?
I wouldn't say that we've made giant pivots with BookBound's progress. We have made like little tiny ones, and I think this is due to the fact that just as much as we are entrepreneurs, we also try to think of our product as consumers as well. Like Elias mentioned, we started off as a book club where we first started off as people that just wanted to read. So when it comes to making an app that is focused and geared towards readers and talking about books, having a consumer mindset, especially having previous experience with reading, it definitely helps knowing how to, make tiny changes to make the app more approachable to our target market. Doing research for our logistics definitely helps as well, and what Ekene said as well with market research. If you're talking to consumers that you want to reach out to, and they're telling you stuff like, oh, the price is too much for certain features, or maybe this app could be also helping users doing blah 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 or so and so, that definitely gives us a better idea of how we can hone in our product to be more be more effective at reaching towards our target market and making sure that we really do create that product that we want. So I think if you think about it in multiple perspectives, not just as a entrepreneur, I think you'll be able to get other perspectives and be able to understand how you can look at your product in different ways to, make those tiny pivots and be able to, again, just address your target market much more effectively.
All right. Emmanuel, moving forward in the pivoting discussion, we talked about it more from the perspective of customer discovery, customers letting you know. How do you use customer discovery? Earlier, you talked about, listening to your customers, having them motivate you. So what would you say would be your customer discovery strategy?
Well, for me, I was very lucky because my customers, I would see them every day. So I would just see them at school all the time. And they kind of have no choice but to talk to me because I'd be a student, and I'd be able to go after class to my teachers and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And, you know, I had to pivot, or I say evolve the product a lot. So when Class Chat first started, it was just a way for students to talk to each other in their classes over the internet, right? And then that did well, but then after talking to a few potential customers, they were like, this is never going to sell. This will never fly in a school district. So pivoted to add teachers, and then after talking to teachers, they were like, this will never fly because you don't have administrators. And then I kind of knew that pivot was coming, so I was really ready for it. But and then I think that really helps, talking to your customers and knowing what changes you have to make is very important. But for me, like I said, I was very lucky. I could just call up my school, and I knew exactly who to call. I knew exactly who wants to talk to me and who didn't. And then when I got to university level, I knew exactly who to talk to and who to reach out to, and I had the connections there through the institute and stuff like that to really hone in on, you know, what eventual changes that we had to make, and we still have a lot of changes to make down the road. I definitely see that, and I think as a founder, it's important to be open to that and go with the flow, but also to know when to say no, when to put your foot down. I've had a lot of people ask me to do certain features, and I'll tell them not a good idea on my part, so I won't do it. But you have to know when something is going to change your product for the better, and when it's actually going to make the user experience worse. So being able to talk to your users frequently, or being your user, both of those help and can catalyze the success on the user's end for the product. So.
All right, great. Ekene, you've mentioned talking to your customers and moving into the music area, Afrobeats. So what is your strategy in engaging and doing customer discovery?
I would say number one thing is from our initial customers. I will even, it's been such a long journey. I don't remember exactly how we got our initial customers. I know it's like maybe through social media, but now our customer discovery is mostly word of mouth. We work with the people that our customers interact with, and you use social media to discover these people. So, for example, the people that you're following, we will talk to like power users. So power users are like example people that usually use the app a lot, and be like, hey, we want to give you $20 to run this promo or talk about this event that's coming up, and you know, if anybody comes with you, we'll give you more money. And that's kind of like how we get some more customers in. And when we see customers onboarded through those customers, we we just go ahead to make sure that those customers are very comfortable, make sure that they go through the process. If there's any issue in their process, we will track it, and we will make sure we pivot. And that's kind of like we find our customers through our current users.
All right. BookBound, you're much earlier in your journey. And when you look at customer discovery, how would you say customer discovery has informed how you're designing your platform, your app?
We were lucky enough to have a mentor from Cal State Dominguez Hills that had helped us a little bit through our process of creating BookBound. And through that connection, we were able to do a lot of focus groups and talk to people who would be potential customers in the future, which was really lucky for us because we got a lot of suggestions and advice of things that we can implement to make it more inviting or easier for people who are starting to read or avid readers. But like what Emmanuel had mentioned with knowing when to say no to things, that was something that we also had to learn during this process. So we do want to get feedback from focus groups, from people that we know, from people who would be interested in BookBound, but we've also had to learn to block out the things that aren't going to be helpful in the future. And I think we have been able to do that very well in a way where we're creating an app that will be beneficial for the people who are interested in it.
Great. And I just wanted to add a little bit to Elias's comment earlier about participating in the Ideation Challenge and Innovation Challenge, saying that they did well. They actually won both of those competitions, so they did really well. All right. So congratulations. And now when you look at your journey, there's always learning that's occurring. You're always sitting there, and each day you try something and you learn from it, hopefully. And what is the one thing that you know now you wish you knew when you started the journey? Emmanuel.
Okay. I guess it's there's a lot, right? But I guess the main thing would be like it's hard, but it's doable. Everyone told me, when I started, like the first thing I would hear is this is impossible to build. And then I found a way to build it, technologically speaking. And then they said, okay, no one's going to use it. I got users. And then they said, you can't sell this. That was probably the hardest one to overcome because there's so much regulation and like different bottlenecks in ed tech, which we're still dealing with right now, right? But it's doable. Everything is doable. And this is a quote like I have, it's like every single thing you want is a handshake away. So it's really just a deal away. And it's just getting it done. You have to just put it in like actionable steps. But once you do that, you handshake your way up the ladder and you get the deal you need, or you get, the raise you wanted, whatever the case may be. It's all doable, but you really have to close out the noise and, the rejection and stuff, and, apply the feedback where necessary, but also learn where the feedback is not valid or, critical in any way. I think that's the biggest thing. It's hard, but it's doable. That's the simplest quote I can put.
All right. Ekene.
I would say the number one lesson throughout the journey is there are two things that you need to make sure you do if you want to grow. You have to either have traction or have revenue. If you don't have any of those two, it's really hard attracting people, or I would say partners, to your business. And at some point, I was so focused on solving the problem, I didn't care about solving it in a profitable or money generating way. So I would say, if you're doing anything, make sure you try and start generating revenue or traction as soon as possible, because if you don't generate that, you're going to lose your motivation at some point, because you need money to keep it going. That's one. And two, you eventually need more money to keep it to grow. And people that are going to make a decision to invest in you, if it's not family, they're going to look at those two things, traction and revenue. And if they're not satisfied, they wouldn't invest in you.
And what you mean by traction is the number of users on your platform or in your app, and revenue. And it's also important to realize you're looking at revenue, not profits. You don't have to be profitable, right? You just have to somebody has to be buying what your product is. Profits will come. All right, great. BookBound.
Yeah, so two quick things that I thought of. One is to really not be overwhelmed by everyone's opinion, because when you go through the process, especially with us kind of starting out, there's going to be a lot of people that have a lot of ideas, and they'll throw it at you and they'll say, you should do it this way, or this would be a better idea. But really sticking to like your core values, that's really important. So being able to know how to filter those ideas, because it's good to hear people's opinions and ideas. Don't get me wrong, but not every single idea needs to be applied. Not every single opinion is like 100% valid. So kind of trusting the team and the process to go through that. And then the other thing I'd say too is not make everything perfect. So especially with us, when we were like finding a developer, for example, we went through an interview process where we would try and find the best candidate or developer for us. But there's a lot of trust that goes with that. And you kind of just have to start, because you can keep interviewing people over and over again. But at some point you have to draw the line and say, we just need to get started. So just knowing when to start and not looking at all the tiny minor details all the time. I think that's really important, and something that would help anyone starting to be an entrepreneur to not feel so overwhelmed that everything needs to be perfect and everything needs to be done a certain way.
All right. That's one of the most critical lessons, is the idea that you have to get something out there to start getting customer feedback. And if you wait till it's perfect, somebody else has already beaten you to the market. All All right. So each of you are focused on growing your business. What is your next step to grow your business? What is that what are you putting your effort into now to get your product or service in front of people? BookBound.
Yeah, so I know we've just talked about this, but we are still in the early phases of the business. Right now we're just focused on developing a good platform. So we have been communicating with our app developer on a regular basis to try to see when we can approach beta testing. And then from there, of course, we'll try to reach out to people to have them pretty much try to break the app to see, if there's any bugs or if there's anything that needs to be fixed. Is it, approachable? Is it easy to use? And then from there, of course, we'd work with a developer to fix those bugs. But we're also working on our marketing presence. So we're starting to talk to marketing services to help us get the word out, but we're also creating content on our own. We do have an Instagram, and I guess I could put the @ in the chat if people want to follow us, but we also have it. We're planning on creating a TikTok. We're also planning on creating our own, commercials and our other, marketing presence to see if there's ever a place where we can put in like a 10-second snippet of, what we're about and, what the platform's about. We could just put that in there. So yeah, it's definitely marketing and then just development for now.
All right. Ekene.
I would say right now we're working on something, I don't know how to say it, but we're working on looking more attractive. So our basically so far up until like, let me say 2 months ago, what we do is like, if you do this, you're going to get this amount of users. And that effort is not scalable. If to some point it's like, okay, we can't keep making a large, like you can't keep putting more effort to get more users. You need to like make work smart, not hard.
Yeah.
So right now we're currently working on being more attractive. We're communicating with people via email, social media, publications, and if we just put out more content, it's going to attract a certain amount of people, but it's not going to attract the numbers we want. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to focus on our branding, working with people that are very, very popular influencers, for example, and even attracting them to us, like doing little things that will make us attractive. So, for example, if you work with a very popular artist, other artists would be like, okay, you've worked with him before, so I can trust to work with you. If you work with a popular event organizer, or if you've been on a Forbes article, or if you've been on a certain, like if you look like you've been out there and there's publications and stuff out there to make you look like you're a really good platform, you're more likely going to attract a lot more traction, attract a lot more people. And when you start attracting, like so far we've attracted investors now, but we're not really focused on attracting more investors. We're focused on, in fact, attracting more customers. So when the investors want to invest, we can be like, we can have a bargaining power. We can't be like, whatever you give us, we're going to take. So that's kind of like where we are at the business.
All right, great. Emmanuel.
So for me, I'm really just focusing on getting good at like our cold outreach batting average. So because we know a lot of potential customers. I'm very fortunate to have a very good network through people I know in this business to other school districts and stuff. But I'm really trying to get good at school districts like I never met. I don't know them. They don't know us. They've never heard about any of the companies we work with or anything like that, and getting them to sign on. And the reason for that is because the way I see it is that whole, warm network, warm outreach is not scalable. It's something where eventually we're going to run into that cold school district we don't know. That cold university we don't have a connection to. So I want to get good at it now while we're young, because the warm stuff is the low hanging fruit for us, right? We've had no problem doing that. It's the cold stuff where that's where a lot of startups, when they go from startup to over, let's say 2 million ARR, but under 10 million, that weird, awkward, like, puberty stage is what I call it. That's where they really struggle, where it's like that cold outreach, and that could make or break a company. So I really want to get good at that. And that's what I'm focusing on a lot of my time, just getting clients, getting feedback, asking them, hey, did my cold email, like, did that scare you? Like, what did you think about that? Stuff like that. That's what we're really honed in on right now.
All right. We got a question in the chat that I think is a good one before we get to the last question I discussed with you is, where do you all expect to be in 5 years? So when you think about your business in 5 years, right now we know the challenges you're facing, the growth and the issues, but one thing that we talk about all the time is, that 1 year plan, that 3 year, that 5 year. So where do you expect to be in 5 years? Ekene.
I would say in 5 years, we would have reached hopefully IPO. So one of the main goals is for the way we're building we're building a product to be acquired. So there's an exit strategy, and whenever we're talking to investors, you're like, listen, like, this is what we're building this product because we know the data we collect is more important than anything, and that's what makes this product so valuable. So we can't use that data. We can't really use that data very, very well. But a company like, for example, Airbnb or maybe Live Nation, these are the kind of companies that will really, really need this type of data. So we can't do what they're doing, and they're much bigger than us. So that's kind of why I believe in the next 5 years is either we're acquired or we'll file IPO, and at least we'll be in the billions.
All right, great. Emmanuel.
Sorry. So I think for me, it's gonna be, I would love to be at least above 30 million ARR at that point. If not more. But really, my goal for this has always been, I can drive past any school I see and I can go, that's a class chat school. That's a class chat school. I just keep doing that no matter where I am in the state. That's the real goal. But the fiscal, whatever, numericals, 30, 40 million ARR, hopefully more. That should put us on track for that, 10-year unicorn level, strategy, right? Very well on track. So that's the real goal there.
All right. BookBound.
Yeah.
After 1 year, what's your 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years. I have to look that far. I don't know what I'm gonna have for food tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna eat tomorrow. But honestly, in 5 years, we hope, first of all, that by that point we have good relationships with authors as well as publishers. But I think the most important thing that we want is that we'll have a community. So we really want to have people kind of look at BookBound and kind of see that as the place to go to for anything books when it comes to reviewing books or learning more about books. We also hope that our competitor, Goodreads, isn't the staple. When people think of a place to go to for books, they tend to think of Goodreads. We hope to replace them and kind of wake that sleeping giant, which is Amazon. So we do hope to build a community, and when people think of book recommendations or creating chats for books, they think of BookBound. That's what we really want in 5 years. Yeah.
All right. Be the industry leader. Great.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming for you, Amazon.
All of you have affiliation with Cal State Long Beach. So do you have things that the university was able to do to help you on this journey, or recommendations that you would have for current students as to get engaged, or looking at activities, these type of extracurricular activities? The most We'll start with the most recent graduate with BookBound, and then work our way to a current student.
I think for us, I mean, obviously we touched upon it before, but we've gotten a ton of help through Cal State Long Beach, and that has mostly been through the MBA program. The Institute has been a great resource for us. Dr. Martin and Dr. Martin have been great resources for us, really supportive and helping us find different things in the community that we can apply to and push us forward. I wasn't engaged in any other extracurriculars during my MBA program, but I definitely think, you know, talking to people in the Institute or reaching out to even professors that you have to be able to get those connections, like Emmanuel had mentioned earlier, having that network, it's priceless. You have to have those people that can connect you to the right things or the right events and just move from there.
Ekene is a recent graduate. Yes.
Yeah, so I would say the number one thing that the Institute, I would say the Long Beach community did for me while I was there was it helped me mold the business. So before I got into Long Beach, it was like a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of things. I had an app, but I just had one. I had done one, but it basically molded me to understand the 360 of being an entrepreneur. You have to understand the finance, understand the marketing, understand the team, building a very, very good team. And basically, all this was done under the mentorship of Dr. Martin and Dr. Martin. And I went through the Institute of Innovation Challenge 2. And it was really, even if I didn't, like, I was a finalist, I didn't win, but like what I got from it was a win for me because when I got out, I realized um, I had other friends that were entrepreneurs and they didn't get the same guidance as I did. That's the simple difference. Is I had the Institute of Innovation at Long Beach, and they didn't. So I believe anybody that's trying to become an entrepreneur, like that is definitely where you should start, or you should be around that community because it'll really serve as a good network too. And another thing is I met the first woman in space just from networking in Long Beach. So it's really really cool if you keep doing it. Like if you join the community.
All right. Okay, Emmanuel, going
Yeah.
through it as a student, what do you think?
Yeah, so I've never done like, any like, clubs, fraternities, that kind of thing. I was kind of always doing my own thing with class chat, but it felt like the Institute was a club, right? And it felt like it was sort of an extracurricular activity in and of itself. And then with the pitch competitions, prepping for that, that was a lot, actually looking back, a lot of fun, right? And I think we both remember I wasn't the strongest pitcher at the time, but I feel like I got a lot better at it and a lot better at public speaking in general. And that again is like another extracurricular activity. So I think it really provided the guidance of like where I was able to kind of take a fast-paced MBA course through the accelerator. But all those concepts I learned, I ended up using back in my classes, even now, like, how to manage people, how to, run a business's finance, learning about like stock options and all this stuff that affect me as an entrepreneur in my everyday life. That's my dog, sorry. But they also were taught to me at the accelerator and the Institute. So it definitely, I would say, actually helped my progress towards graduation, even though most people would argue like, it's taking time away from your studies or whatever. I think it actually, because I'm in the business field, really accelerated and catalyzed a lot of the learning that I was going to have to do over my undergrad.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all. We're moving into a Q&A time, and there are some good questions here. And what I will do is ask you all, and you can jump in. We won't go round robin, but if anybody has advice on these or want to answer them, please share your thoughts on it. And I think this is a question that people get almost every time there's a panel on startups. Is what would your advice be for someone that has an idea for a business? where do you start?
I can kind of jump in on this one. This
All
is
right.
Yeah, this is a very, common question, tough question, I honestly think. But with a lot of businesses and entrepreneurship, even I would say if you're doing it on your own, I think no matter what, you need to find good people. Regardless of, if you start out like BookBound, where we have 3 people, or just being by yourself, there's always going to be people that you're going to be interacting with, talking to. So finding the right people is really important. And then how do you find the right people? That's kind of just going out there and getting involved. And don't be afraid to talk about your idea, because sometimes people feel really shy, kind of, or they kind of just think, oh, someone's going to steal my idea. I think it's important to talk about it. Attending this event is, a really good thing, and connecting with people like me, for example. I'll put my LinkedIn or anything just so people can connect with me and talk to me and just kind of keep going. But my biggest advice is just finding good people, really. And then from there, the ideas keep coming, and then connections keep forming. And then maybe there's a pitch competition that you can try out. Maybe there's an opportunity by talking to someone that you didn't even think of. It's all, businesses are just people. So that's my best advice for that.
All right. Anybody else?
I would say just start, draw your idea out. Ideate, solve, put the math equation together. Like before I started, I used to write a lot of stuff about the business down, how I wanted it. I had a lot of, today it might be this, today, tomorrow it might be that, but like write down a lot, as much as you can. And the more you write down, the more you're able to articulate your ideas. So because if it's stored in your mind, you can forget. But if you write it down, it's not, you can't forget it, because you can just go to that page and put a date on it too. So write down what you're thinking of, write down where you want your business to go, what you want your business to do. And I would say that was my first step. And now I'm a revenue generating business. So write down what you want to do. That's the first step, I believe it is in business. And share it too. Make sure you share it. Like Elias said, like talking to people about don't be shy. Talk to people about it. They're gonna make fun of you. They're gonna say, they might be like, no, that's funny. That's not gonna happen. But that's good feedback, because you need somebody to play devil's advocate. So when you go back and be like, no, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. Let me change it a little bit. So just write down. That's the first step.
All right. Thank you. And one thing that we tell everybody, and Elias and Ekene highlighted, talking to people is good. A lot of people will sit there and say, well, if I tell somebody about this, they're going to steal it. And the only way your ideas get stolen, if you stop working on them. All right. You've got a head start. You've got a vision. Get it out there. Talk about it. Move it forward. Don't worry about somebody stealing it. The one thing is, and particularly those with an engineering background, is you want to say what your product does, what market problem it's solving, but don't say how. All right. It's like, don't sit there and say, oh, here's my code for this solution or whatever. But they would have to then go back, recreate, do all the work you've already done. So you've already moved it forward. So, but the more you talk to people, the more you're really doing that customer discovery. All right. We have one question here about an idea for an exercise machine and need help getting started. What suggestions do you have? And it's very much like the suggestions of where to start. So if you have a specific product like that, does anybody have any suggestions for an entrepreneur that has a specific product that they're looking to build and take to market?
Yeah. My advice would be talk to people who work out. Go to your local gym, go talk to them, show them the idea. Be like, hey, I'm working on this new machine. Here's what muscle it's gonna hit. Here's how it's gonna make you stronger versus like this other machine. Get their feedback on it. They might be like, the grip looks weird or the positioning looks weird. I feel like this will break my back. I don't like this idea. Or they might be like, this is a great idea. You don't know, right? And then from there, you just, you draw it out, you write down the plan, and then maybe you go talk to a commercial weight making machine or company. I don't know, right? And there's plenty of those, and a lot of them they're not gonna take your idea because it's so much work for them to research it, make sure it's ergonomic, whatever. But they might be interested. They might tell you, okay, bring us like a prototype, show us how it works, and this is something we might be able to partner on or whatever. Don't hold me to that, because if your idea gets stolen by them, it's not my fault. But I will say it's very unlikely they will do that. But I will say that's probably the best way to get started. It's just to talk to your ideal users and talk to your ideal buyers. So yeah, that's what I would do.
All right, thank you. There was a question about stories of CSULB graduates or students that have gone from the accelerator and generated their products. So Emmanuel is an example. He's graduated from the accelerator and has several campuses in the CSU system that will be using his product soon. Once paperwork and regulations are all taken care of. And several high school districts are currently using it. And it is a made in the USA product because he's right here in Long Beach doing all the work with his team. And both Emmanuel and Ekene are building a team, even as individual founders. They do have a team behind them. And then also in the first cohort, Bill Beverly is a CSULB alum with both a bachelor's and a master's degree out of engineering. And he was a co-founder of a company called Evo Electric. And they're taking light duty trucks or medium duty trucks like a UPS truck or something like that. And they're converting it from an internal combustion engine into an electric powered vehicle. And so, there are quite a few CSULB alums from the accelerator, but also there are alums that have made it without the accelerator that we've worked with and that have gone on to different accelerators as well. One alum that we've worked with has just gotten into the program, the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, LACI. So there are quite a few success stories out there, and we try to promote them and try to help build the next success stories like you're seeing in front of you here on the panel. Any other questions? I know it's right now about noon. So Jenna or Lana, I don't.
Yes, thank you all so much for your participation in this today. I think this has been a fantastic panel for our Founders Day edition. I think that there's a lot that folks can take away and learn. And Dr. Martin, I expect she'll be getting a few applications here for the demo days. So,
well, we'd be excited. We are definitely excited. Like I said, we want to have a huge turnout because it's a double-edged sword. We need those great ideas pitching at demo day, and we need those investors showing up, and because one attracts the other. And so we're excited to see Ekene's pitch, and others there at demo day. So great.
Awesome. Well,
excuse me, one last thing. Please reach out to the Institute if you have any questions. Our email is CSULB -IIE at csulb.edu.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely put that in the chat. And yeah, you can reach out to the Institute through that CSULB-IIE at csulb.edu. If you all want to keep in touch